What's going on, guys? I just wanted to come and talk to you guys today a little bit about relationships and the toxic traits that we shouldn't allow affect our relationships. So the unique and crazy thing about love is that we're not really taught how to love or how to receive love. And how we learn these things are through outside influences. We learn it from our parents, how they choose to love each other and how they treat each other. We learn it from friends and their relationships, how they treat each other. And, we may take a little things and tweak our own relationships based off of what we see from theirs. And we also learn how to love through TV, through television, which is why sometimes, women or men can get caught up in, fairy tale type of love and how they think love should be because of something that they saw on TV. But TV is, really not reality. So if we're going to learn how to love, I think we should stick more to self-educating, learning, also becoming aware, trying to understand how your partner likes to be loved, which they like to call love languages. But to me, that's too surface level. There isn't a such thing as just 5 love languages, because there's certain things that shows love to me that has nothing to do with, love language. Love languages, the 5. So I think it comes down to you wanting and truly trying to understand your partner and in the way how they like to be loved and what they perceive as being loved. Because what I think is love, my partner may not think is love to them, so it comes down to you understanding one another and you learning. So a big part of my channel is about stoicism. And one of the, principles of stoicism for me is to always be a student. And this is applicable to a lot of different situations and scenarios, and love could be one of them. You need to always be trying to learn your partner, figuring out what makes them tweak, what makes them, what gives them butterflies, what makes them fall in love, what makes them love you more, love you harder, and understanding that and trying to do that to the best of your ability because you want them to feel love because you love them. So taking the time out and doing the little things, the special things that that they appreciate will take you a long way. So along with becoming self-aware and the understanding of your partner and yourself and how she likes to be loved or he likes to be loved and how you like to be loved, we also need to understand the toxic traits that we bring to these relationships and how we should be handling those situations when they occur. Because it all goes back to awareness and being able to take a step back and seeing things from an objective view, from a macro view instead of a micro view, because it's hard to see things when you're in the thick of it. So if you can catch yourself while you're in the thick of it, take a step back and see things from a different view and figure out how you can change the current issues. So a lot of these toxic traits that we have are, I would say for the most part of some type of trauma that happened previously in our life, whether it was, as a kid or it developed from previous relationships that you've had. So you need to be able to dissect those traumas and, stop them from having an effect on the future relationships that you share or the current one that you're in, because you don't want to allow past things to affect your future. So we have to nip those in the butt right away. And I would say there's about 4 main ones that I think most people deal with that are common toxic traits from individuals. And the first one I would definitely have to say is communication. So when I talk about things in these videos, when I talk about subject matters and stuff, I can only talk about, these things from my own personal experiences. And I haven't had the best relationships. So a lot of learning has been done on my end because of my failures or my partner's failures in these relationships, and me becoming aware of them and wanting to change. So first, you have to want to change. You have to want to be different, either for your current partner or your partner that you're trying to get back, or a partner in the future. You have to be wanting to change the way you are in order to have more of a healthy relationship with that person. So I think communication is probably the worst one. It's probably number one that people are not good at doing. And I would say that in order to become good at communicating, especially if it's something that you two don't do well, or one of the partners don't do well, you guys have to come to some type of agreement. Like, this is a partnership at the end of the day, and we want this partnership to last. You know, we want to build something with each other. So it comes sometimes with making agreements with each other. You know, maybe take one day out of the month or a few days out of the month, pick a weekend, and to actually discuss things that may be bothering you guys, figuring that out. You know, so from my past relationship, that was something that, you know, I agreed to do it at least once a month. But when it came around to actually doing it, I always pushed it off. Like, I didn't want to do it. Like, it was something I always avoided. So I was very bad at communicating and, you know, getting things off of my chest and saying what's been bothering me. You know, so through time and self-awareness, I saw that was something that was very toxic on my end, because problems never got solved because of my lack of ability to communicate. You know, so I was never expressing those things that were bothering me, and it also didn't allow my partner to express what maybe was bothering her. So picking a day out of the month, picking a few days out of the month, trust me, it won't hurt. It won't hurt. You think it is, you're afraid to do it. It's all trauma, and it's you being afraid. You know, so get over that feeling of being threatened or feeling threatened, because at the end of the day, it's all ego. It's your ego that's afraid to be vulnerable. It's your ego that's afraid to be threatened. Your ego sees vulnerability as a threat. It sees it as you tearing those walls down. Your ego wants to keep those walls up because your ego doesn't want to be threatened. It doesn't want to be penetrated. But you have to understand that it's okay, and nothing horrible is going to come for this. Once you get over that fear of communicating and actually talking out your feelings and expressing yourself, you'll realize how easy it is and how good it feels to actually do so. So understanding that it's your ego, it's not you. It's a whole different entity that's a part of you, something that's deep, that's not allowing you to communicate, not allowing you to express yourself to your partner, and letting them know, yo, when you do XYZ, this bothers me. Like, it doesn't make me feel good. Because if you don't communicate those things, it'll just build up inside of you, you know, until you get to that breaking point to where you're now yelling, or you guys are now in a real serious back and forth. And, you know, at the end of the day, it was probably something little, you know. So if you are able to be aware of how you're feeling in the moment and expressing that in a moment and saying, hey, when you do this, I don't like it because of this. It makes me feel like this when you do this. You guys can get over those little, you know, situations and stop them from becoming big issues. And like I said, a lot of it's trauma, you know, because where I come from, you don't express yourself. You don't, you know, open yourself up to people in that kind of way because it's seen as a weakness. But you shouldn't feel that way with your partner. Your partner is somebody who you should feel like you can be vulnerable with and you can be expressive with. You know, so don't allow some stuff that you have learned or picked up from the streets or picked up from your parents affect your relationship, you have to cut that toxic stuff out. You have to realize that that was a toxic trait from your parents' relationship. That was a toxic trait that you learned from the streets. And I'm not going to allow this to affect anything that I have going forward. Another big toxic trait, I would say, is the ability to not trust one another. Not trusting somebody is always going to create conflict, because whenever there's a situation where you're going somewhere and you're not with your partner, there's always going to be an issue of, what are you doing? Who are you hanging with? Why haven't you called me? It raises a level of anxiety for you when you're not trusting of somebody. So you need to understand where that lack of trust is stimulating from. Did he once cheat on you before? Are you just not trusting him because of a previous relationship? You need to understand where that trust is coming from in order to be able to tackle it. Because if he once cheated on you, we have to learn how we can get to a point where we don't forget, but we forgive. Because if you haven't forgiven him yet for that mistake, or you haven't forgiven her yet for that mistake, then it's always going to be an issue. It's always going to create division. It's always going to create drama. It's always going to be toxic in the relationship. So we have to be able to get to a point where we trust that individual again. And that can take time, building that trust, but you have to be able to allow that person, he or she, to gain your trust again. And over time, we have to learn to let go. We have to learn to forgive. You can't consistently hold that person to the mistake that they made, a year ago, years ago. We have to learn to be able to move on and see them for the person that they are today, and understanding that they're not that person, a few years ago or a year ago. So if you messed up and you're the individual that messed up, on the flip side, you have to stop engaging in that type of behavior. You have to get off the apps. And you know what apps I'm talking about. I'm not talking about just regular social media. I'm talking about the Hinge. I'm talking about the Tinder. I'm talking about the Bumble. You have to get off those apps. And I know sometimes when men or women are going through something tough in a relationship and there's a lack of communication in a relationship, you may run to those apps just because it's somebody new. You may not even be looking to date them or go out with them, but you're running to those apps to have a conversation with somebody new or somebody different from your current girlfriend or your current boyfriend, because you guys are having communication issues. You guys are having problems with expressing yourselves. You guys are arguing a lot lately because you guys are lacking in understanding of one another. So you have to stop engaging in that behavior, because you're going to get caught at the end of the day, and that is going to be a trigger for her, and it's going to create more, lack of trust, lack of understanding. So like anytime you're going somewhere or anytime you're out for a few minutes, because you're always engaging on these apps, she's going to lack trust in you, or he's going to lack trust in you. So you have to get rid of those apps, and you have to, if you really want what you guys have, you have to work on those issues. You can't deflect and, I'm going to deal with it by doing this. You got to be a man or you got to be a woman, and you have to talk things out with each other, get to an understanding with each other in order to fix that underlying issue. You have to get to the root cause. And supply chain, when there's an issue on the manufacturing floor, usually the first solution to the problem isn't the main problem. You have to dig deeper. And what we call digging deeper is getting to the root cause. We have to really find out what the underlying issue is that's causing the problems within the flow of the manufacturing process. So taking that idea, that concept, and applying it to a relationship, we have to figure out what the root cause is. What is really bothering us, or why do we keep arguing over the same little things? And we have to figure out how we can fix this in order to, have a healthier relationship down the road. So the third toxic trait, I would say, is not valuing or appreciating your partner. I know sometimes, especially if you've been in a relationship for a long amount of time, you tend to stop appreciating one another. You tend to stop complimenting each other. You tend to stop doing the little things that make each other happy. You get caught of going in the motion. And sometimes when you get going in the motion like that, you tend to lose that spark. You tend to lose that passion. So you have to find ways to continue to spark your relationship. And this is mainly for individuals or people that have been in relationships for a long period of time, because it tends to happen over, gradually over time. You tend to lose that passion. So you guys have to continue to spark that relationship, to find ways to generate that passion, to keep each other interested in one another. Because if you don't, that candle will go out. So we have to figure out how to keep that candle lit, how to keep that sexual drive for one another, how to keep that interest and that passion and the jokes alive. And, you look forward to coming home from work because, your best friend is home and you can't wait to be with your best friend. So how can we figure out how to keep that passion and that drive alive, so that we're, still interested and appreciative and valuing our partner, because everybody wants to feel appreciated. Everybody wants to feel valued. Taking this to the workplace, they did a study and most people would take a pay cut if they felt appreciated more at their job, if they felt valued more at their job. So just as human beings, we like to feel appreciated. We like to feel valued because we like to feel like, we like to feel loved. We like to feel like what we're doing is special to somebody or to the company, so we want to be somewhere where we feel like we have impact. So understand and catch yourself before it's too late, that you're valuing your partner. Make sure that you're being aware and understanding of her feelings. And most of the time, women especially will tell you how they feel. And men aren't so good at it. We're not the best at communicating and expressing ourselves, but women will tell you that they're not feeling valued or they're not feeling appreciated or they miss how you used to do X, Y, Z. So as men or as women, we have to listen. We have to listen to those signs because, I was told that in my past relationship and I ignored it. I kind of just brushed it off. Like, you missed that. I know. Yeah, I missed this. And you try to combat whatever they say. Well, I miss when you did this, so instead of being like that, just, be the bigger person. When people go low, we go high. Be the bigger person and try to appease them. I try to do the things that that they love and appreciate and makes them feel valued. Because especially from a man to a woman, when you appreciate her and make her feel valued, she'll go out of her way to do anything for you. Because they like to feel loved, especially. So naturally, when they feel loved, they'll cater to you. They'll do, they'll go and move mountains for you. So just find ways to keep the spark alive, keep the candle lit. And the fourth thing, I would say this is definitely not last. It's last in this video, but it's definitely not last, is just patterns of disrespect, disrespecting one another, saying things to each other that we know is going to hurt each other's feelings. Because when you are with somebody for a length of time, you guys know what ticks the other person off, and the things that you can say that'll really hurt them. So getting out of that behavior, and when you're really in the midst of it all and you're really toxic, you'll say those things because it hurt their feelings. You really want to hurt them. And you just don't do those kind of things to people that you love. And I haven't been the best at keeping my mouth shut. I call it one of, for my family in particular, I call it our curse. So I come from a family where they got mouths and we can tell somebody off real quick, or we can say some things that can really hurt your feelings. And I remember telling my cousin when she asked me about, oh, why you guys break up? And I told her, oh man, it's because of our curse. And she automatically knew what I was talking about. Just us like yelling, being vocal, and being like too aggressive and too like bad with our words. So that is something that I had to spend a lot of time on figuring out, like, man, why am I this way? And being able to take that step back, taking a macro view of my behavior and where it stimulates from. Part of it stimulating from trauma, dealing with the death of my brother. And then part of it is just dealing with my family, especially my dad's side. Like, they Detroit people, man. Detroit people are crazy. They're their own special breed of people. If you never met somebody that's from Detroit, man, I'm telling you, if you have met somebody from Detroit, you know what I'm talking about. They're their own special kind of people. And I have that same pattern of mouthiness that my grandma had, that my aunts have, that my father can have at times. So getting out of that pattern, breaking that generational curse, doing things differently, I had to take time to really like take a step back and figure out why I was so like toxic with that, and understanding that people don't think like you. You know, that's always been like a weird trigger for me, because I get upset when people do things that I expect them to already know to do. And that's very bad. That's very bad, because people don't think like you. And when you get to yelling at people because they're not thinking like you, there's a particular word I'm trying to think of, but it's where you're like demeaning them. That's the word I'm looking for. You're demeaning them. You're making them feel small. They're making them feel little. And you don't do that to your partner. You never want to make them feel small. If anything, you're supposed to uplift them. They're supposed to get the most out of life when they're with you. They're supposed to feel like they're at their best whenever they're with you. And when you're demeaning them and making them feel small, it makes them resent you. And you don't want them to resent you, because in the end, they'll pull away from you. So for all my women, all my fellas out there, if you guys are having this certain type of toxic trait, cut it out right away, because it's one of the worst. It's one of the worst. When you expect people to think like you and you get mad because they're not doing things that you expect them to be doing already, it's very bad, very bad. So if it's not too late, take a step back, be aware of what you're doing and how you're acting and how you're treating your partner, for men and women. See what you're doing, because like I said, it's hard to see things when you're in the midst of it. But I want this video to awaken, illuminate something inside you, to be able to catch yourself and being able to take a step back and being like, man, like, I'm everything that he says. Like, I've been like this to my girl this whole time, or I've been like this to my man this whole time. I'm trying to awaken some of you guys before it's too late and your partner leaves. Because when hindsight's 2020, once they leave, it's so much harder to get them back. Because of all that time you were being toxic with them and being verbally abusive with them, you know, they're going to get to a point where they just decide to leave because they can't take it anymore. And at the end of the day, though you guys have had beautiful times and shared beautiful moments, all they can see is the upsetness, the disappointment, the anger, the belittling. That's all they can see in the moment. And then once they leave, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to get them back, a lot of time trying to change, which is good, because sometimes you need that kick in the butt to change your behavior. But I'm trying to help you guys catch that before it's too late. So you don't have to, you know, deal with the issues and the problems that I had to deal with, the growing that I had to do. So I want my mistakes to be something that you guys learn from, so you don't have to learn from them, you know, by committing those same mistakes yourself. Learn from my mistakes, do better, be better, treat each other better, learn to love each other. cherish the moments that you guys have spent together, because when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to see the beautiful moments, but they're there. You just have to want them and reach out for them because they're there. So cherish those moments, be better, do better, love him, love her. And I hope you guys, go to the moon with this. I just want you guys to have a better relationship and a better understanding of each other, and just to be a better individual altogether, So I thank you guys. Live, love, laugh, man. Love each other. Love is one of the best feelings in this world. Allow yourself to be vulnerable and allow yourself to be expressive and allow yourself to accept love. I had a tough time accepting love, dealing with trauma. So whatever trauma that you have to deal with that. And if you and your woman are broken up right now, deal with that trauma. Get better. Get better. Allow her to see you as a better individual, because she'll want you back, or she'll want you. If you haven't had this woman, if you never had this woman before and you're trying to gain her attention, show her how good of a man you are. Show her how you don't have the negative traits that every other man has or every other woman has. Show them that you have baggage, but your baggage has been well taken care of. And you're not going to allow that baggage to affect what you and her could potentially have. And if you're still trying to understand how to love somebody or how you like to be loved, I suggest you go out and learn. There's books, man. There's books. I've been reading books on relationships and love and trying to understand myself and trying to understand my partner better. Because when I'm in the next relationship with whoever, I want to be a better person to that individual. I want to be different than the person I have been. I like this book right here. This is a good book. The 5 Apology Languages. There's the other book, the 5 Love Languages. This is apology languages, the 5 apology languages. And I just feel like this is just as important or more important than the 5 love languages, because this is what most people don't know how to do. We don't know how to apologize to one another. We don't know how to say, I'm sorry. We don't know how to communicate, how we're feeling and how we're dealing with something and expressing that to our partner. We don't know how to do that. So that book is really good at showing you how to be apologetic to your partner and showing that individual that you're sorry and you're not going to be repeating the same behavior over and over and actually living up to that word. So I suggest you guys go check that book out. But I thank you guys for being here and always showing love, and I'll be back with more videos. I'll see you guys soon. I'm out.